Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the KanDao QooCam Ego. This is a 3D camera that launched roughly 1 year ago, and the manufacturer recently reached out to me and asked whether or not I would be interested in reviewing it. I said, sure, send it over, because it has only become more affordable since its original retail launch, again, a year ago, and its feature list has become more rich through firmware updates. Now, before I get into any of that, I'll include a link in the description for those of you interested in picking one up, and the price as of today is a little over $300 US. Now, the retail is $369, I think, and 99 cents, but at least at the time of this unboxing, I have seen it for a little over $300. So, what are you getting? Essentially, you can see that camera right there. It has two lenses, two 1/2-inch sensors. This is going to shoot stereo video at 1080p. That is per eye. Collectively, the entire resolution is 3840 by 1080. When we talk about stills, it's going to total out at 24 megapixels, but as I just mentioned, per eye, we're looking at 12 megapixels. So it's been a really long time since we've had any form of a 3D still camera, to my knowledge, and when it comes to video, far and few between in terms of options. And that's not to say there are literally none, but close enough. And for those of you unfamiliar with this manufacturer, they have been in the business for a while now, and they are reputable. So, as I mentioned, you have two sensors, you have two lenses, you have stereo video. So that means it's going to take anything that traditionally would be flat, and it's going to give it depth. What's really nice about this, it comes with a viewer. Now, that might look like an old Viewmaster from presumably your childhood or your children's childhood, but either way, that is going to let you instantly review footage in 3D. Now, keep in mind, as I've mentioned, this is 1080p per eye. We are not getting a 180-degree field of view, but rather, again, depth added to a traditionally 2D flat image. And at this price point, I think this makes a lot of sense, especially if the quality does follow through. So the first thing we're greeted with, of course, some paperwork, also just demonstrating how to use the viewer, which essentially just mounts to the back to that 2.5-inch LCD screen, which I think is rated about 1600 by 1440 res. In fact, I'll just take out what we've gotten here, the quick start guide, as well as your warranty card. I believe that's, well, almost it. We also have a cleaning cloth right there. Go ahead and put this aside, and there we have the actual QooCam. Now, you know, from a form factor standpoint, that's another really nice thing I can already say about this camera. It's the first time I'm actually holding it in hand. And by the way, this does come in two different colors. This is the, I believe, midnight black. The other one is white. And incredibly compact. This is very lightweight. So, you know, if that's something you're after, which I think especially in a product type like this, it makes a lot of sense, then, you know, you're off to a good start. So let me go ahead and open this up. I thought I could just pull that tab, but looks like I'm going to come in from the side. I think that's going to serve us a little bit better. See if I can pull this off or just slide it out cleanly. This does have a removable battery as well as an SD card slot. It looks like I'm going to have to remove the other side as well to make this happen. And the beauty, again, of this camera, form factor and affordability while delivering that 3D content. So I'm having some problems here, but that's just because I hadn't pulled that tab. Now I have, and we've got it at least revealed from its plastic sheath. Still have one piece of plastic covering the lens assembly. Now, two 1/2-inch sensors, I have to say, very impressive for a little camera like this. And it says to me that when it comes to pricing, KanDao was very, very aggressive. On the 2.5-inch LCD, I think it's exactly 2.54, something like that. You can see we've got some instructions. So they're letting you know, swipe down will give you settings, swipe from left to right, playback, right to left, focus distance, and bottom up parameter settings. So all of your actual camera settings will be down there at the bottom, as you may have guessed. And that's pretty straightforward. On the left side of the body, I believe this is the way we gain access to the actual battery. You can see the slot there. Hopefully I'm doing this correctly. I probably am not. I'm kind of fearful that you know, I'll end up with a problem here, but it appears that this is just going to open up, but you know, I may save that for another video, but it does look like it's just that tab right there, and it looks like I've now got it, and there it is. So I made this look much more difficult than it actually is. It's just I thought it actually popped out. It rather just slides down. So pretty straightforward. You need to slide that down, and then it reveals, of course, that battery bay as well as your SD card slot right there, micro SD to be exact, and then our Type-C port for charging. On the bottom, we have a quarter 20 mount, no surprise there. And then on the other side, we have our power button and what I presume is a toggle. It could just be volume up and down. This is also going to serve to help you with playback because remember, this is a playback machine, as I've already mentioned. So let me go ahead and put that down. Let's see what else is in the box here. We have a little red lanyard. Certainly nice to have one of those, but as you may have guessed, you're going to want this. You do need a way to keep this securely connected to yourself. And again, it's just one of those things, as I butcher this, that you expect with a camera like this. And the viewer is, I don't want to say the game-changing feature, but it certainly is very important because it does help differentiate it from pretty much any other product on the market. We've got a little carry pouch here, and I'll get to that viewer in a moment. So a nice included accessory right there. Felt soft touch finish like that. And then what else do we have? We have, let's see, I'll just pull out all of the accessories here that are left. Our battery, our charging, and transfer cable if you wish. Now keep in mind, this is a fully networked camera. That is the premise from KanDao, is that once you shoot your 3D footage, you can just immediately upload it to the metaverse. I mean, it's really up to you what you want to do with it. YouTube is another great option for 3D content for those of you that are not familiar, because right now some of the best support is coming out of YouTube. And you can view this with a VR headset, but again, the beauty is this little viewer, which you're going to see in a moment. So let me go ahead and open up the battery. And, when you think of, again, competing products, I think you will be hard-pressed to really point to many of them. So there is that battery, which is actually rated, I think, at over 1,300 mAh. Let me see. I have to take off my glasses to actually see this. And the total rating, I'm still looking for it here because I do remember seeing that it was over 1,300. So I'm not seeing it on the battery, although it's probably there, and I'm just missing it. There it is, 1340. So tiny print, but hopefully you can see that right there above my thumbnail. And of course, that Type-C to Type-A cable. And what is this little guy right here? Let's open this up as well, and then let's take a look at that viewer. And the viewer, part of what it's been pitched as is that you can also use it as a viewfinder. But I'm not going to go as far as to say that it can be used as such, but I'm not going to tell you that it's ideal simply because, as you're about to see, it does attach to the back, and you will be looking essentially down through that ViewMaster setup, as you now can see. So because this is going to hook up to the back like that, and you can see there are actually little docking points for this to lock into. You just got to make sure you're lined up. I am now. We're good to go to actually review content. So you're just going to put this to your head, but you could already see why using this as an active viewfinder is not going to be incredibly practical, since you will have to look down to take a shot. And that's really not what this was designed to do. Now, if you could hold it like this, then you'd be in business and you could use this as an active viewfinder. But of course, this is really meant for reviewing images. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying it's not designed for that. But that is really the game-changing feature here, is that you do have this instant capability to review footage. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. Let's just see if this powers up right now. And I do need to give it a charge, of course. I do need to get a memory card in there, and that will all happen. Let's make sure I'm putting this in the correct orientation, which it appears that I am. You want to go ahead and put it in this way, make sure your pins line up. And as I say that, it seems like it doesn't, but there we go. And let's go ahead. I'm not throwing in an SD card as of yet. Go ahead and close that up. Pretty simple. And by the way, this is water resistant, not waterproof. So it can get wet. I certainly do not recommend getting it wet, though. So please proceed with caution. And also, I can already see because this is so compact, again, the size of a credit card, I think it weighs in at a total of, I think it's around 6 ounces, something like that. It's going to be very easy for you to accidentally put fingers, as awkward as I'm making this look, in front of the lens array. And remember, this is stereo 3D. It's using essentially the ability to, I hate to use the word, but fool our brain, trick our brain into thinking we're seeing depth when we're really just seeing the same image on each of our eyes independently. So this is the same way old 3D worked. And it was smart of KanDao to make a product like this. Again, affordable, entry level, and it's come a long way in 1 year. So let's go ahead and power it up. Onboard microphones are supposed to be good, as are the actual, well, I don't know about the onboard speaker, but the actual onboard microphones are supposed to be decent. It is a stereo capsule on there. And you can see the screen now. So pretty small again. And for those of you wondering, you may have noticed it's not occupying the entire space. And the reason being is that, again, it is shooting in that 3D, stereo video, so it does not take up the entire display. Now, we do have a touch screen here, which is certainly nice, so you can easy navigation, or at least it should be, and I will get this set up and get to work on it, testing it out. But definitely a very cool product, in my opinion, and now with the addition, I think back in March was the firmware update where they introduced stabilization as well as autofocus. That is huge. I mean, when this launched a year ago, it lacked each of those features, but KanDao could justify it because it had no competing products, and they didn't know exactly how it would be received. And the good news is that those were 2 points of critique for obvious reason or reasons, and now they have been rectified. So again, with that firmware update back in March, this now does have support for in-body stabilization, so to speak, as well as the stabilization is huge, but the autofocus equally as important. This was, again, strictly manual focus up until then. So we'll see how those features work. I think that's another reason that the Ego deserves a second look here in 2023. But until I start using it, you're going to have to wait to find out if that is actually the case. But on paper, it seems to check every box. And, once you have this guy hooked up, which is magnetic, by the way, but in order to get that fit, you want to make sure that those guys lock in like that. The Ego does really present something unlike anything else on the market. And for those of you, again, that follow my channel, I am constantly looking for cameras that change the game. I love traditional cameras, mirrorless cameras, point and shoots that are excellent, even that, camera on your latest and greatest smartphone. But I'm always looking for something that's going to give me something that I don't get from those cameras. And what at least the QooCam Ego represents is exactly that. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe and please stay safe. Later.